Hello, Akshat. Welcome to Beyond the Brief.
Hi. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so Mr. Akshat Nigam is a third year law student at NLIU Bhopal and has recently won a client counseling competition organized by Alternative Dispute Resolution, ADR Board, NLSIU Bangalore. Congratulations on winning the competition, Akshat.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so let us begin with understanding what client counseling competition actually is. So please tell us about the structure of the competition and the rounds of the competition.
Okay, I mean the name speaks for itself. So basically, there's a client. You will face a hypothetical client. You will be in a team of two, and both of you will be counsels. I mean, most competitions have a team of two only. So
Yes.
you both will be counsels, and then the other person. You'll not know the problem beforehand, so that is the trick of the competition. But you'll get an office memo. You will get something of some sort to give you a vague idea of what the client is facing. But then there's certain confidential information which only the client knows, and you'll have to extract it out throughout your session. So this whole session is divided into two parts. First is the consultation process, where both the councils and the client, they ask questions, there's introduction, everything, we explain the whole procedure to
Yes.
them, and we try to extract the confidential information. And according to that, then you have to give them some legal remedies if there exists, or any other practical remedy, which we did in our rounds as well.
Yes.
So after you give that, then you go into the post consultation round, where the judges basically can ask you questions or cannot ask you questions. I mean, it depends on competition to competition.
Yes.
So they ask you questions, and you basically have to showcase your legal knowledge. That's all I think.
Right. So I think there are two kinds of client counseling competition because I've been a part of a few of them as well. So some of them release the release their client's problem beforehand, and some of them give it uh, on the table itself. What kind of competition was this? Like, you did not have any information, or did you know the subjects of it, or some information? How was the competition?
Was the former one, the first one, because we did get an office memo. So the
Okay.
office memo is in the form of, let's say, the client secretary or the
Hmm.
client itself, they mail you, and then, or they mail your secretary, and then you get presented with that office
Right.
memo. Now, what does it contain? It contains firstly the problem. Now, this problem will be very vague. Let's say, for example, the client might have just sent an office memo saying, I'm facing some financial issues due to some family problems, which has put me in a very sensitive position in
Right.
terms of my finances. So this is very vague. And then there's applicable laws. I mean, in this competition, there was a section of applicable laws, and you get an idea ki, okay, maybe they're applying Domestic Violence Act,
Hmm.
or the protection of seniors and parents, the Maintenance of Senior Citizens Act, basically.
Right.
So that was there. You get a fair bit of idea of what the problem is by looking at the problem, and then looking at the applicable
But
laws. I
you
think
have
it
no
did all.
information of the facts of the case that you have to extract from the client, and then you have to give the legal
Exactly.
remedy on which judges may ask you the questions.
Yes.
Perfect. So, did you have any experience of client counseling competition before this one?
I think this was my first proper client counseling competition, because I've only participated in my intra-university pools, which is the client counseling pools, which gave me a good start because I did well in it, and I learned a lot. So then I became a client. I volunteered as a client in the client counseling competition, which NLIU conducts, the MCA conducts. But then this was my first competition where I really was a counsel, and it was a big, I mean, it's a big competition.
Right. So, did you enjoy it?
Oh, right. So, yeah, I think, I mean, in terms of learning, in terms of fun, this competition had a perfect blend, because I think the best thing about NLS and NMC is that it's not only a competition. You interact with a lot of people.
Right.
Since it's not just one competition, it's negotiation, mediation, and then client counseling. So
Yes.
you meet a lot of people. Bangalore is such a good city. You go out, you can have nice food. It was a fun experience overall.
Obviously, because also NLSIU is a dream campus for all the law students. So being there and uh, be able to connect with a lot of people there and people from outside, it must be a fun experience and of course a learning one. Right. So can you tell
Yeah,
about
that's
the rounds of the competition? How many rounds were there and how much time did you take to prepare, first of all?
okay. So answering the first part, so firstly, we had our preliminary rounds. That was in May.
Okay.
And then we had a whole gap of 1 month. And then we had our semi-final and final rounds on June in June.
So
So
were
there
the
were total of
preliminary
three.
rounds online? I'm so sorry to interrupt
Yes, the
you.
no, it's fine. The preliminary rounds were online actually.
Okay.
So now in the preliminary rounds, there were 20 teams, and then we got selected. We were the second best team in the preliminary rounds,
Okay.
and then we moved to semifinals. So that's how it goes. And to answer, I mean, how long did we take to prepare? Honestly, the competition was like I don't remember exactly, but 5 4 5 days after my end semester exams.
Oh,
So both of us, my teammate and I, her name is Meher. So Meher and I both, we didn't get a lot of time to prepare. Plus, she was facing an injury. So it was, we just prepared, we made the best out of those 4 5 days. We tried to read up the basics and, just make sure that we have coordination throughout the round. So that was it that we did in those 4 5 days. Then comes June and the semi-final round. So that we had a whole month. So we took time in preparation. We prepared well for that.
okay. Because yes, 4 or 5 days are more than enough for a client counseling competition, at least at preliminary level, because it's not like a mood problem where you have to research and you have to make a memorial and everything. Mostly you are going to get the information on the table itself. So there's not a lot of things to prepare, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, in term comparing it with a mood is, yeah, you don't have that much work. You don't have to make a memorial. You just, I think what it is that when you prepare for a client counseling competition, don't just prepare for the laws and everything that will be there. You have to do that. That is primary. But
Hmm.
the secondary aspect is sitting and talking, just trying to extract information from the other person. And you have to be confident for it. So that is what you should be working on even more,
Right. So
equally.
the criterias of judging a client counseling competition is very different from that of a mood problem, a court competition. So basically, the marks are given on the basis of how do you extract the information from the client and what legal knowledge do you have, coordination with the team. This is what I get. Do you have something to add?
Okay, so I mean, the aspect of knowledge of law and its application to facts plays a role. Your teamwork, dedication, not dedication, I'm sorry, teamwork and your coordination,
Right.
that that matters. And a lot of points get cut in online rounds when you both of you are in different cities and you have to coordinate over a Zoom call. You'll have to
Right.
manage a chat on the side. You have to have some signatures. Like what we used was, I'll scratch my head when I'll have to ask a question. So every time I used to do this, so that's how you prepare coordination because it has a lot of marks.
Right.
And I think, yeah, the other criteria that you mentioned.
Yeah, I was about to ask you what different uh thing did you do to win the competition? Because a lot of teams must be doing performing well, but there must be something which set you apart. So one thing I got that you had your sign language basically to communicate. What other factors helped you win?
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if we did it differently from any other team or not, but I think what I can say, what we did was actually for the preliminary rounds, we read up on the law. That is the first aspect. There might be a law which you're good at. There might be a law which is not that strong of your area. Since both of us were second year students when the preliminary rounds happened. So 4 or 5 days, we first of all read upon the laws because trademark and I patent was the basis of the two problems that we had. And when we read the problem, I don't remember the problem exactly, but when we read the problem, we had a fair idea. Okay, this might lean in this way, or this might go this way. So the first step that we did after having our preliminary research done was brainstorm ideas. We were like, okay, what can happen with this problem? Let's say I'm a client and I come to you. That's how we used to practice. Let's say I'm a client, I come to you and I say, okay, this is my problem. What is the wildest guess that you can? So we had our wildest guesses and then our probabilities and our script or whatever the notes that we prepared. It was in the way of, okay, what if this happens, then you do this. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. So you are ready for most of the scenarios. There anything can happen. You can mix and match two laws, three laws, and you can make a very complex problem, which did happen in the final rounds.
Yes.
I'll come to that later. But for the preliminary rounds, this worked very well. And I think uh, during your rounds, especially be it client counseling or be it any moot court round, you have to modify your strategy according to the client or the judge, whichever the competition is.
Right.
So what worked for us was going how the client goes. You can't go against the client. If the client is speaking in a very slow manner, taking up a lot of time, you can't just straight up go straight up and tell him, okay, speak faster, please. I do not have any time. You can't do that. So you'll have to go strategically, and that's what we did. So we went with a strategy, but it was not a fixed mindset. We were like, okay, we have our questions, we know what we have to ask, and then we'll move ahead. Now, coming to the semi-finals and the final rounds, first thing that we took from preliminary rounds was this strategy of changing our strategy. I mean, you can't have a fixed strategy. You can't work finals and finals. What we did was we made sure that we take the strategy of changing our strategy. That's what the first thing that we kept in our mind was. The second thing that we did was prepare a list of basic questions that you ask a client. Now, I don't know if every team does it. I think it just made sense in the moment.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, this is the client. This is the client's profile. You see, the client is an old man who's facing some financial problems. So what can you guess? I mean, he might need to sell his property. He might need to make a will, and there are certain things that you can make possibilities.
Yes.
So like we'll make a basic list of questions so that we can rule out possibilities which are too remote to the problem.
Yes.
So we first of all, age. Have you made a will? Do you have a son? Who's in your family? Is your son married? Are you facing any physical abuse? All of these questions, they make you understand what actually the problem is. Then comes final round, and the final round was I think the final round was the toughest round I have ever seen in a client counseling competition. I'll tell you very honestly, because firstly, the client was very well prepared. Our client, the fictional name was Akanksha. So Akanksha, the client, she did not give any information. And we were like, in the middle of the round, we stopped, we took a breath, and we were like, okay, we are going somewhere, we are going wrong. We need to re-strategize this. We need to work on it again. And that included keeping a watch on your time, because the client can go on for 5, 7 minutes, and then you need to control the session.
Yes.
And they should feel like they're controlling the session, but your questions are controlling the session.
Yes.
So that is how we prepared. We prepared for possibilities, failures. I mean, you need to know what can go wrong. So if my partner asked a wrong question, I wrote on my the chits that we were passing, I wrote, oh, don't ask, do not go for this line, do not, let's not go
Yes.
there. We'll do that later. All of that, stop. There were small signs which we made on our notebooks, and we were like, no, please just stop. And that is how the rounds were, and that is how we prepared.
Okay, so the final round of this competition was meant to be the toughest of client counseling competition because first of all it was finals and second of all it was NLSIU's like NLS was has organized this competition. But it obviously makes sense that you need to keep a check and control the session because I remember I was in a client counseling competition and in the semi-finals of that competition the client came and she began crying. She did not stop for at least 5 minutes. Like she was just saying, I have been cheated and I want justice. That's all she said for the first 5 minutes, and the round was of 15 minutes. I was a first year student back then, and I was like, now what do I do? I was told ki you have to be, you need to sympathize with the client. You cannot be rude if she's. And I was like, क्या हो गया? अब क्या किया जाए? It was a tough round. We did not clear it, but then I got to know कि okay, this is how you should control with like your questioning. So yeah, client counseling is fun actually. But client counseling is not
Yeah, I
as
think it's very funny.
yeah, but it's not as popular as mood courts as of now.
I mean, yes, because I mean, I also do moots, and I think I have done a client counseling competition now as well. I would still say I enjoy mooting more than doing a client counseling competition. It's more
Okay,
exciting, thrilling. So I would say, yeah, I still enjoy it.
right. um so I would like to ask you who were the judges for this competition and what did they say, what was the feedback?
Okay, so throughout the competition, we had judges who were partners in SAM, CAM, Trilegal, people who were practicing since the last 20 years or so. And we had great judges who gave us very good feedback in the preliminary rounds, which helped us in the semifinals. And in the semifinal rounds, the feedback we got was absolute gold because that is one thing which we used in our finals and it worked in our favor. So I'll tell you about the feedback in our semifinals. So in the semifinal rounds, basically what happened was we were too rigid with our approach. That's what I felt throughout
Hmm.
the round. Uh, we we brainstormed some ideas, and then we were like, these can't happen. These obviously can't happen, and we were ruling out possibilities. So the judge advised us two things. First was to ask open-ended questions so
Yes.
that now there's a difference in asking specific questions and open-ended questions. So what we did, and I believe was, I think it was a good way, but we
Hmm.
did not think it through. Firstly, was to ask very specific questions. Like if you constrict the client into one place, the client will not give you more information than what you are asking. If I ask you, do you like apples? You just say yes or no. But if I ask you, oh, um, do you like fruits? And then you might say, okay, yeah, I like fruits. Or what fruit do you like? Then we can move ahead. It was a very basic example,
Yes.
but you have to move from open to specific questions. And it's not like you have to move in a linear way. You can ask open questions, then specific, open, specific.
Yeah.
But you have to make a balance. You have to read the situation and understand whether this line is working for me or not. And the second thing we understood from her advice was that you need to strategize according to the client. If the client is saying that he doesn't, let's say the client is saying, I don't want to prepare a will, and you are you're telling them again and again, oh, these are the benefits of the will. You should be making a will. So you have studied about will. We understand that. The judges know that. It's fine that you've studied it. It's very good. But if the client doesn't want it, you can't
Force
force
her.
it down his throat.
Right.
Exactly. So, and the client might want a very it's you don't have to force them to litigate. Now,
Mm.
litigation, there's a lot of we find litigation, we understand litigation in a way, okay, we can give we can advise litigation anytime at any moment. You can't advise litigation to a person who's 80 years old, can't walk properly, and can't come to the court daily. So also ADR methods. Don't stick to
Mm.
one solution to the problem. Do according to the client says and explain the client along the way. Okay, if I'm saying that negotiation will be better for you, how can it be better for you? Why am I advising this?
Right.
So we understand your situation. Something, phrases like these.
Yes.
You use these. You understand the approach of the client, and then you give
You
solutions.
need to make them comfortable in order to extract the information and give the best suited legal advice to them. So, what are your key takeaways from this competition?
My key takeaways. I think one thing that I'll be forever grateful for this competition is the time that I had in. It was beautiful.
Right.
It's a very nice place. Firstly, you get to meet a lot of different people. You get to understand ideas, different people from different batches, pursuing different things. Someone who's been interning since the last 6 months, they tell you their experiences. So the overall experience is
Yes.
great. That is for sure. Now, secondly, what I learned from the competition was that when you have to go through a competition, you can't just be in that bubble. You have to understand this is not only a competition. The other person who's coming, the client who's coming, I am a lawyer, I'm an attorney. I need to act like an attorney. An attorney wouldn't, I mean, no attorney would suggest what to do in the first meeting.
Hmm.
That is what we learned in the finals. Like, it's fine. I mean, you just have to gather information. That's what the judges said. So,
Okay.
you have to present, I think, fake it till you make it was something we'll
Yeah.
put it in short, obviously in a light way, light-hearted manner. But yeah, so that was it. I gained a lot of confidence through this competition, something which I was lacking since some months. So that was a very good aspect. And then I got to meet such good negotiators. I'm not active in the ADR scene,
Hmm.
but I've got to meet such good negotiators and mediators who were great and excellent, who have perfected their style of negotiation or mediation. So now I think I can do a mediation or a negotiation competition as well. So it's not just client counseling that I learned. I learned a lot of things.
This is the best part of participating in a competition where it's not just one competition but maybe a law fest or 4 5 competitions together, because and also when you participate in a tier 1 competition you get to meet a lot of brilliant minds, which does not usually happen when you participate in any tier 3 or tier 4 competition.
I mean, yes, every competition has its learning experience. And I mean, it's not like something of very, a big bang happens if you go to a tier one competition. I don't know what tier one competitions are, but still you get to learn different things in different competitions. And you should be open to doing as many things as you can, because when else will you do it? In your
Right.
5 years only, you will get to do
You
a client
have
counseling
limited
competition.
time here.
Exactly. So just enjoy whatever you're doing and try to learn around the way. Winning is not, I mean, winning should not be the
Only
driving
goal.
criteria.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or, making a LinkedIn post or doing anything, that should not be the goal. Your goal should be to learn, enjoy your time while you're doing it. That's a plus point.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Truly appreciated. And client counseling is one competition that I did. I think that was my first competition as a law student. So I truly like it. I have also been a part of organizing committee for client counseling competition in my college. So I really wanted to speak to you. And thank you so much for considering my request and talking to us.
Oh, come on. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me.